The women at the corner come out.
Mama aliyepaka kwa kona kutoka.
These women have come from vibarua.
Wanawake wametoka katika vibarua vyao.
Close your eyes, the women from the shamba.
Mama umetoka katika shamba, fungeni macho yenu sasa.
Na mubebe mikono zenu zote juu. Mighty Father, you are the father of Naivasha. You are the father of these precious women who have been working the whole day in the field. So mighty Holy Spirit, I welcome you to visit this field and visit these women and touch. Touch them all. Touch. Lift up your hands very high.
Levante su mano bien, muy alto.
The fire of the Lord is going to fall here.
El fuego del Señor va a caer aquí.
Close your eyes, worship Him.
Cierren sus ojos, equipo de adoración.
Mighty Father,
Poderoso Padre,
now you can clean up the worship Him.
ahora pueden limpiar el equipo de adoración.
Let your fire fall on this altar.
Deja que tu fuego caiga sobre este altar.
Over there now. Touch, 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 Mighty Father,
Padre poderoso,
now I ask you to bring your fire.
ahora yo te pido que traigas tu fuego.
Very great fire.
Un fuego bien grande.
And touch the dancers.
Y toca a los bailadores.
And touch.
Y toca.
Levanta sus manos muy alto. Beginning with the men towards the women.
Comenzando con los hombres hacia las mujeres.
Father, now,
Padre, ahora,
as you remove disease from the field,
al quitar la enfermedad del campo,
you can visit the worship team.
tú puedes visitar el equipo de adoración.
From my right hand side,
Desde mi mano derecha,
beginning with the men,
comenzando con los hombres.
let the fire of Jehovah
Deja que el fuego de Jehová
fall on the worship
caiga sobre la adoración.
over there
Hacia allá.
and touch. Today, 16th of September 2020, is the day of history.
Aujourd'hui, le 16 septembre 2020, c'est un jour d'histoire.
As I was asleep in the night,
Comme je dormais dans la nuit,
then all of a sudden I saw the visions of the Lord.
alors soudainement j'ai vu la vision du Seigneur.
And then I saw from afar
Et j'ai vu de loin
the Lord most high, flying very far, too high,
le Seigneur très haut, volant très loin, très haut,
like an eagle.
comme un aigle.
Then after that,
Et alors après cela,
talk to me about the judgment of the USA, the United States of America.
il m'a parlé au sujet du jugement des États-Unis d'Amérique.
Then in that dream,
Et alors dans ce songe,
I saw that the USA was judged,
j'ai vu que les États-Unis étaient jugés,
the White House.
la Maison Blanche. Septembre 2020, le 18 septembre 2020,
He spoke with me about the judgment of God
il a parlé avec moi au sujet du jugement de Dieu
that is coming to the USA, United States of America.
qui vient aux États-Unis d'Amérique.
Then I pronounced it.
Alors je l'ai
And all
prononcé.
of a sudden I saw he struck America.
Et soudainement, j'ai vu qu'il a frappé l'Amérique.
And the White House was affected.
Et la Maison Blanche était affectée.
I have warned the United States of America.
J'ai averti les États-Unis d'Amérique.
The Lord has instructed me to strike you with the wrath of God.
Le Seigneur m'a instruit de vous frapper avec la colère de Dieu.
Repent.
Repentez-vous.
I saw the great eagle. He struck the White House.
J'ai
in
vu
the
le
USA.
grand aigle, il a frappé la Maison Blanche aux États-Unis. Et 2 semaines plus tard, le 2 octobre 2020,
This is a Fox News alert. President Trump just tweeted moments ago that he and the First Lady have tested positive for the
une alerte de Fox
coronavirus.
News,
It
le
follows
président
news that
Trump a
top
tweeté
aide
il y a
Hope
quelques
Hicks,
instants au
who
sujet
traveled with the president
du fait
multiple
que son
times
épouse
this
et lui
week
ont
had
été
tested
testés positifs au
This
COVID-19.
includes aboard Marine One, the presidential helicopter, and on Air Force One to a rally in Minnesota Wednesday, and then aboard Air Force One to Tuesday night's first presidential debate in Cleveland.
This is CNN Breaking News.
The President of the United States now confirming to the world that he and the First Lady of the United States have both tested positive for the coronavirus and they will quarantine. The president tweeting out just moments ago here in the United States, 12:54 a.m., said tonight, Flotus and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together. Again, the President of the United States confirming via Twitter that he is now tested positive for COVID-19 and the First Lady as well.
The news came in a late-night tweet from the White House. President Donald Trump wrote, "Tonight, the First Lady and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together." It is not known how, despite elaborate precautions and constant testing of White House officials, the White House press corps, and others in contact with Trump, the president contracted the virus.
In the last few minutes, it's been confirmed by President Trump. He has tweeted to say that he and his wife have tested positive for coronavirus. This just in the last 10 minutes. US President Donald Trump and the First Lady saying, we will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately.
Yeah, he was referring to last night, the tweet came through, or just a few hours ago, Hope Hicks, who's one of his colleagues, he said had been working so hard without even taking a small break, and he had tested positive, terrible, and that's when he said he was waiting for the test results for him and his wife, and then beginning their quarantine.
US President Donald Trump has tested positive for the Wuhan virus. The man who downplayed the threat of the virus, the man who refused to wear a mask, called the disease just another flu, is now infected with the very same virus. Donald Trump is in self-quarantine 31 days before the U.S. presidential election, which raises many questions.
This is the tweet that has generated international news headlines across the globe. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, taking to Twitter to say that he and the First Lady, Melania Trump, had tested positive for COVID-19, saying that they will begin their recovery and quarantine process immediately. A message to people on social media. Well, more details about their health conditions were detailed in a letter that was released by Trump's physician, Sean Conley. I want to draw attention to a few words on this here. He said that the President and First Lady plan to remain at home within the White House during their convalescence, where they will be monitored by senior medical teams.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Brian Williams.
The president has tested positive for the coronavirus after a top aide of his tested positive herself. This also applies to the First Lady, Melania Trump. We heard the news about Hope Hicks, longtime aide to this president and this West Wing, testing positive herself and showing at least mild symptoms already of the coronavirus. And the president said that he and the First Lady were going to begin the quarantine process.
The White House is now furiously trying to stop the virus's spread, racing to identify a constellation of contacts who recently interacted with President Trump, the First Lady, or confidant Hope Hicks. The president's chief of staff with this acknowledgement.
I fully expect that as this virus continues to go on, other people in the White House will certainly have a positive test result.
Trump campaign manager Bill Stepien announcing overnight that he too is infected. All four traveling together aboard Air Force One Tuesday night, with an entourage of aides, allies, and family members flying to the debate site in Cleveland.
President Trump and the First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus.
This is major breaking news that really impacts the continuity of the American government.
It's an extraordinary development because it puts the president's health at risk. We're only about 4 weeks and some change away from the election, of course, on November 3rd.
The president announced it on Twitter just before 1 a.m. Eastern. They'll begin their quarantine and recovery process immediately.
And we're learning that other members of the White House have gotten the infection as well. Hope Hicks, a counselor to the president, one of the most senior White House officials, and someone who spends an awful lot of time in close proximity to the president.
And the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee.
And the chief of staff at the White House, Mark Meadows, telling reporters on Friday that he fully anticipates there to be additional positive results from other members of the staff or other people who came into close contact with either Hicks or the president.
And Michael Wong here in Beijing. Well, first off, U.S. stock futures extended their losses today after President Donald Trump said he and his wife had tested positive for COVID-19.
Returning now to the U.S., where Donald Trump and wife Melania are in quarantine after testing positive to coronavirus.
Breaking news. The President and First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus.
Knowing that the president is sick and that the pandemic is affecting personnel in the White House, this may be the most dangerous moment that the U.S. government has ever faced. The president is suffering from a deadly virus. This feels like something we should be watching on an episode of Homeland.
The Lord is seeking the attention of the nations, together with their leaders.
Seigneur cherche à attirer l'attention des nations avec leurs leaders et il demande la repentance, se détourner du péché. Regardez l'église aux États-Unis d'Amérique, combien pourrie elle est. Totalement apostate.
There is no visitation of God.
Il n'y a pas de visitation
And
de
they are all
Dieu.
locked in there. They are not aware that that situation spells doom.
Et ils sont tous enfermés là, ils ne savent pas que cette situation appelle la mort,
They have
appelle le
locked
malheur.
everybody in there. They are headed to hell with them. They
Ils
are
ont
not
enfermé
allowing
tout le
them to
monde
enter
là.
heaven.
Ils vont en enfer avec eux. Ils n'y vont pas, ils empêchent les autres d'y aller.
They have commercialized the gospel.
Ils ont commercialisé
Sexual
l'évangile.
sin is normal.
Le péché sexuel est
The
normal.
worldliness has entered the church.
La mondanité est entrée dans
Lies
l'église.
and false apostles, false prophets writing books
Les mensonges et les faux apôtres, les faux prophètes écrivant des livres
and harvesting money.
et moissonnant de l'argent.
One day it will come to an end.
Mais un jour, cela viendra à sa fin.
One day you realize that that money cannot enter heaven.
Un jour, vous réaliserez que cet argent ne peut pas entrer dans les
One day
cieux.
in the United States of America, you will realize that money can never purchase eternity for you.
Un jour, aux États-Unis d'Amérique, vous réaliserez que l'argent ne peut pas acheter l'éternité pour vous.
I have warned the United States of America.
J'ai averti les États-Unis d'Amérique. Repentez-vous.
Repent and turn away from sin.
Repentez-vous et détournez-vous du péché.
Receive Christ Jesus as Lord
Recevez Christ Jésus comme Seigneur
and Savior.
et Sauveur.
Today, 16th of September 2020, is the day of history.
Aujourd'hui, le 16 septembre 2020, c'est un jour d'histoire.
As I was asleep in the night,
Comme je dormais dans la nuit,
then all of a sudden I saw the visions of the Lord.
alors soudainement j'ai vu la vision du Seigneur.
And then I saw from afar
Et j'ai vu de loin
the Lord Most High flying very far, too high,
le Seigneur très haut, volant très loin, très haut,
like an eagle.
comme un aigle.
Then after that,
Et alors après
he spoke
cela,
to me about the judgment of the USA, the United States of America.
il m'a parlé au sujet du jugement des États-Unis d'Amérique.
Then in that dream,
Et alors dans ce songe,
I saw that the USA was judged.
j'ai vu que les États-Unis étaient jugés,
The White House.
la Maison Blanche.
He spoke with me about the judgment of God
Il m'a parlé aujourd'hui au sujet du jugement de Dieu
that is coming to the USA, United States of America.
qui vient aux États-Unis d'Amérique.
Then I pronounced it.
Alors je l'ai
And all
prononcé.
of a sudden I saw he struck America.
Et soudainement, j'ai vu qu'il a frappé les États-Unis.
And the White House was affected.
Et la Maison Blanche était affectée.
I have warned the United States of America.
J'ai averti les États-Unis d'Amérique.
The Lord has instructed me to strike you with the wrath of God.
Le Seigneur m'a instruit de vous frapper avec la colère de Dieu.
Repent.
Repentez-vous.
I saw the great eagle. He struck the White House in the USA.
J'ai vu le grand aigle, il a frappé la Maison Blanche aux États-Unis d'Amérique. 2 semaines plus tard,
The news stunned America. President
la
Trump
nouvelle a
being
étonné les
airlifted to
États-Unis.
Walter Reed Medical Center.
We have
Le
breaking
président Trump est
news
en train
just coming
d'amener-
in.
d'être amené
President
au centre
Trump
médical
will be
Walter
taken to
Reed.
Walter Reed National Military Medical Center for treatment tonight.
We're getting some major, very disturbing breaking news right now that the president will be heading over to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center for treatment.
The heart-pounding drama unfolded behind closed doors Thursday after the president's close aide, Hope Hicks, tested positive. But it was kept under wraps as Trump continued with his public schedule.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, will join us.
At 9:50 last night, he spoke by phone with Fox News host Sean Hannity about his ailing aide.
She did test positive. She's a hard worker, a lot of masks. She wears masks a lot, but she tested positive. And I just went out with a test. I'll see what, because we spent a lot of time, and the First Lady just went out with a test also. So whether we quarantine or whether we have it, I don't know.
Shortly before 1 a.m., Trump confirmed he had it.
This has got to be President Trump's worst nightmare.
Julia, while you were speaking there, we can just see the helicopter Marine One lifting up off the south lawn of the White House. President Trump being transferred tonight to the Walter Reed Military Medical Center. The White House has said this is out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of his physician and medical experts. And they say that the president will be working from the presidential offices at Walter Reed for the next few days.
NBC News World Headquarters in New York. This is NBC Nightly News.
Here's the video playback of what we just missed. As predicted, the president giving a thumbs up to the cameras with a mask, walking by himself as he is now an active coronavirus patient. There's Mark Meadows. Salute from the Marine officer at the base of the stairs. The president usually stops to greet the pilot and first officer. Military aide carrying the briefcase of nuclear codes because where he goes, so must they. You see there the vertical lift. It will make a pivot now, head out toward the ellipse. Let us just watch these pictures play out on board. Something we could not have dreamt about saying just 48 hours ago. President of the United States, having tested positive for coronavirus, having become symptomatic overnight apparently. Look at the broad lift of those rotors, all under the watchful eye of the counter-assault team on the roof of the White House. Helicopter rotors move individually to pitch themselves to lift up in the air. Captain is on the right-hand side of the cockpit as you're
Élie, le
looking
plus
at, first
effroyable
officer on the
prophète
left.
du Seigneur,
There is
frappe
the
les
other end
États-Unis
of the
pour leur
journey.
manque de
That is
repentance.
the landing zone at Walter Reed to the medical center, and the president's disembarking.
Dressed in a suit and wearing a mask, President Trump walked to Marine One unassisted. He arrived at the Walter Reed helipad and once again walked unassisted to a waiting car. On his way to a special suite in the hospital,
U.S. President Donald Trump, having tested positive for COVID-19, has been admitted to a military hospital where he's being treated with a number of over-the-counter drugs as well as remdesivir.
A memo late Friday from the White House physician Sean Conley said President Trump is being treated with remdesivir, an antiviral drug approved by the U.S. FDA for severe cases of COVID-19. His treatment also involves an experimental antibody cocktail for COVID-19 developed by Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. President Trump had been transferred to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Maryland several hours earlier. Soon after arriving, he tweeted a video message.
I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. So, thank you very much.
Je crois que je vais très bien, mais nous allons nous assurer que tout se passe bien. Alors, merci beaucoup, j'apprécie.
But a number of reports say he has a low-grade fever, a cough, and other mild symptoms. There have been concerns that the virus could have infected some other key figures in American politics.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Speaking of that video that the president just posted about 4 minutes on Twitter, let me play it for our viewers.
I want to begin by thanking all of the incredible medical professionals.
Je veux commencer en remerciant toute l'équipe médicale incroyable. Au centre médical de Walter Reed, je pense que c'est le plus fin dans le monde pour le travail incroyable qu'ils ont été en train de faire. Je suis venu ici, je ne me sentais pas très bien. Je serai de retour, je pense, très bientôt, pour terminer la campagne comme nous l'avons commencé, comme je suis en train de faire. Mais ça, c'est quelque chose qui est arrivé, qui est en train d'arriver à des millions de personnes au travers du monde. Si vous regardez la thérapie par laquelle je passe, certains de ces médicaments, nous allons voir dans la période de quelques jours qui viennent, on va faire d'autres tests et on va voir les autres jours. Je voudrais juste dire merci pour tous les supports que j'ai vus à la télévision et dont j'ai lu. Je veux aussi remercier les leaders du monde pour leurs condoléances. Ils savent par quoi je passe. Ils savent en tant que leader par quoi je dois passer, mais je n'ai pas de choix. Mais je n'avais pas de choix parce que je devais seulement rester à la Maison Blanche. Il fallait seulement rester cloîtré, ne voir pas les gens, ne parle pas aux gens. Et reste juste comme ça. Et je ne peux pas faire cela. Je dois être en première ligne. Ça, c'est l'Amérique, ce sont les États-Unis. C'est le plus grand pays au monde, c'est le plus puissant pays au monde. Je ne peux pas être enfermé dans une chambre complètement en sécurité disant juste « Hey, que ce qui arrive, arrive ». Je ne peux pas faire cela. Encore, pendant les quelques jours qui arrivent, on verra ce qui va arriver. Merci beaucoup.
You were there when the president walked out of the White House and boarded Marine One. Yeah, and I know you have some new reporting on his condition.
Yeah, Anderson, I talked to a Trump campaign advisor just a short while ago who said that this is serious, that the president has been having some trouble breathing. that he's been very fatigued today, very tired, and emphasized that this is not just a run-of-the-mill trip up to Walter Reed, that this is a serious situation. Talked to another source familiar with the situation this evening who said that there are serious concerns among White House staffers about the president's condition. Now, we should add to all of that, Anderson, that White House officials continue to maintain that the president is just experiencing mild symptoms from the coronavirus, has a fever, and they expect him to pull through just fine. But to have the president of the United States transported via Marine One to Walter Reed, where he's going to be staying there for the next few days, according to White House officials, and working out of the White House, according to those White House officials, that indicates that this is perhaps more than just a mild case of the coronavirus. And, the Trump advisor I spoke to earlier this evening emphasized that this is a serious situation for the president at this point, Anderson. I would tell you, I talked to a separate White House official this evening who said that the president's symptoms are more serious, more concerning than those of the First Lady at this point, and that's part of the reason why he had to go to Walter Reed. And so, we don't want to, overstate the situation, but to some extent, Anderson, what we've been hearing from the White House all day long and White House officials all day long is sort of, nothing to see here, please disperse, when in fact, it sounds as though, talking to our sources, that the president's conditions have worsened throughout the day and that this has caused some alarm inside the West Wing, that they were concerned enough that this decision was made to get the president up to Walter Reed. And I think if he's going to be up there for a few days, we'll have to go back and you said you'll have some folks on who will be talking about this from a historical standpoint. When is the last time we had a president of the United States at Walter Reed for that kind of period of time? That indicates to me that this is serious.
And, escorted by another Marine helicopter, making their way over to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda. Should be there fairly soon. Video. Here's the video of the president walking out. Let's watch. All right, that's the video. So we saw the president walking out. We saw Mark Meadows. They were wearing masks. Others carrying some, I assume, equipment. I don't know what kind of equipment it was, but you saw them walking out with masks as well, boarding Marine One to make this flight. The helicopter still in the air over Washington, D.C., making its way to suburban Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C.
He just seemed to be moving a little slower than we're usually seeing him.
We are taking you now to Walter Reed Medical Center, where President Trump's physician is giving an update on his condition. Let's listen.
By Thursday, he had a mild cough and some nasal congestion and fatigue. As reported yesterday, consultation with this group, I recommended we bring the president up to Walter Reed to provide state-of-the-art monitoring and any care that he may need. Just 72 hours into the diagnosis now, the first week of COVID, and in particular days 7 to 10, are the most critical.
Ça, c'est l'Amérique, ce sont les États-Unis. C'est le plus grand pays
About 48 hours ago,
au
the
monde.
president received a special antibody therapy directed against the coronavirus, and we're working very closely with the company to monitor him. Yesterday evening, he received his first dose of IV remdesivir, and our plan is to continue a 5-day treatment course for remdesivir.
With a known course of the illness, days 7 to 10, we get really concerned about the inflammatory phase, phase 2. It's hard to tell where he is on that course, and so every day we're evaluating. But he did have a fever Thursday into Friday. He had a little cough. He had the fever. More than anything, he's felt run down.
Kristen Fisher's live outside of the hospital there in Bethesda. An update from the doctors as well.
Yes, Sandra, well, over the last few hours, there's been a great deal of confusion over how exactly President Trump is briefing. It started with that briefing earlier today from the president's doctor and his medical team here at Walter Reed. But then we got this statement from a senior administration official, somebody very close to President Trump, who said something not totally opposite, but very close. It made it sound that President Trump was in a much more serious state than the doctors led us to believe during that briefing. A little bit more detail as to how we got to this point. According to this senior administration official, President Trump was showing troubling signs of a possible progression from mild to a more severe case of COVID-19. That's when medical professionals took quick action to aggressively intervene. They made that decision to bring President Trump here out of an abundance of caution.
And welcome to Today, and thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday morning. Peter, it's good to be with you after an extraordinary several days here in Washington. The country and the world really still processing the fact that the president's at Walter Reed.
Yeah, the headlines over the course of the last 24 hours now, I think, have been so jarring for so many Americans. The scene there at the White House, at times inside the West Wing, where I was able to go, was really a surreal one.
The president's admission to the hospital is our top story this morning. We do want to get you caught up on the latest headlines.
President Trump, we learned late yesterday, also was given his first dose of the experimental antiviral treatment, remdesivir. And overnight, several people close to the president announced that they have now tested positive. Among them, the president's campaign manager, Bill Stepien, his former top advisor, Kellyanne Conway, and Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, who, like Conway, was in the White House Rose Garden last Saturday for the announcement of the president's Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett.
A short, familiar distance to Marine One that was anything but ordinary. Wearing a mask and leaving the White House to become the world's most watched COVID patient. Friday evening, Marine One landed at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, where the president will be a patient.
Then I saw from afar.
Et j'ai vu de loin le Seigneur très haut, volant très loin, très haut,
like an eagle.
comme un aigle. Et après cela, il m'a parlé au sujet du jugement des États-Unis d'Amérique. Et alors, dans ce songe, j'ai vu que les États-Unis étaient jugés, la Maison Blanche. J'ai vu le grand aigle, il a frappé la Maison Blanche aux États-Unis.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.